Om Durga Devi Gayatri Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimohi Tano Durga Prachodayat. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Om Yam Brahma Varnendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvarti Davashtavai Vedai Sangha Padakrama Upanishadoi Gyantiyam Samagaha Dhyan Vastita Tadgatena Manasya Prashantiyam Yogino Yashantam Naviduhu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Our eternal salutations to that one who is the truth of life and existence, and whom the devotees call by various names. Our eternal salutations to that one whose glories are sung in the different religious scriptures of the religious traditions of the world, but whose eternal and undying grandeur no mortal mind can comprehend. Our eternal salutations to that one upon whom the devotees meditate in the shrine of their hearts, realizing an ineffable presence in their deepest contemplations. May he prompt our minds toward the path of truth and righteousness. May she reveal herself unto our souls and dispel the gloom of death, fear, doubt, and darkness. Om peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us, and may peace be unto all. Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om Tat Sat. We meet here for the first time in several Sundays to start a new class series, having completed our recent retreat on the Columbia River Gorge, in which we had some very wonderful teachings about the Divine Mother of the Universe from the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. That was the second retreat in 2 consecutive autumns, in which we took up that huge, voluminous scripture and looked into certain books and skandhas, they're called, and certain chapters in those books. So the Vedavyas composed some 12,000 slokas in those great scriptures, like the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, and all about the goddess in this case, and how important that primal Shakti power is to everything, indispensable for any kind of action or any kind of thought. It moves everything, thought, energy. Energy itself gets energized by her power, and action, our bodies and everything also. That's why she's hidden in plain sight. It's this, and it's so hard to worship or to get a glimpse of. And we found out in that retreat that she made an appearance. Shatakshi was her name at that time, when Durgama, how Durga got her name, Durgama, the great demon, caused havoc to the realm at that time. And finally, the Brahmanas meditated upon her and called her to look at what was happening. And she opened her eyes, 1,000 of them, Sata, Shata, she's 1,000-eyed. Akshi, to see. Satakshi, she got that name after she opened her eyes and saw the horrible condition of the world. I hope she does that soon again here. But saw the horrible condition of the world, and in her inherent nature started weeping compassion. Those tears filled the rivers and the oceans again, and caused the plants to grow and the medicines very important to them in those early times. A more organic medicine, I might say, based on the deities and nature. And so that's how she got that name, Satakshi. And then she defeated the demon that caused that problem. Durgama was his name. And those are all beautiful stories that lead up to kind of the main point that Vedavyas is trying to reveal to everyone. after he does his eulogy, then Vishnu comes forth and praises Durga in beautiful hymns. And we find out that after she destroyed Durgama, then all the great gods who were present and the rishis and so forth, and people wanted to know where she came from. So if we had a vision of something like that now, probably outer space UFO or something, now we want to know where they come from. So kind of take that inward and get rid of the fantasy part of it and focus yourself with your inner eye instead of these two outer eyes toward the origin of the goddess, the divine mother of the universe, she's called, known most recently and most powerfully as Mother Kali in Sri Ramakrishna's realization. But if you take that inside, then you see how she from that single eye, you might say, opened those 1,000 eyes of compassion to the suffering beings in the world. And they wanted to know immediately where she came from. And she said, well, right now you're seeing my Virat form, which exists in fourth dimensional space. So if you know the teaching of space in Atma Gyan, in the wisdom of the Divine Mother, then you know that first space is this one we're in, which everyone thinks is the only space, physical. And then there's a second space, prana, and then there's a third space, mind, and there's a fourth space, intelligence. Fifth space is spirit, spiritual speaking. So that's the kingdoms of heaven within you, as it were. And so she comes from the fourth dimensional space, and you're tracing her at that time, due to her own words in the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, back to the Gyanakasha, the realm of intelligence, the realm of enlightened beings who see her with their awakened intelligence all the time. So speaking like this on Saptami, today is the 7th day of Durga Puja, Navaratri it's known. And there are Navadurgas, 9. Nava means 9, just like Ashta means, to see, and also means 8, Anga. That is, so basically, this is the holy day for Kalaratri, a very powerful day, which my guru used to mention quite often. Shivaratri, Kalaratri used to say. So yesterday we had the worship of other goddesses. Over the last 6 days, we've had everything from Shailaputra up to Katyayani, and now we're here at Kalaratri, and there are only 2 more holy days, Ashtami the 8th and Navami the 9th. So this is Saptami. So this is why I'm opening this first of a 3-series class on Shiva and Shakti, basically. That's why I chanted the Gayatri mantra to start out to her, and then I chanted that beautiful shloka out of the Upanishads, Om Yam Brahma Varnendra Rudra Marutaha, about Brahman, the invisible, formless reality. And so starting off that way means that we're to acknowledge her in this 7th day, and her form is Kalaratri. That's the nighttime of formlessness, as it were, blackness, Kala, who transcends time, Kalas. And come to know her in a very deep and personal way, intimately as our own self, inwardly. So it's very much in accord with everything from getting rid of attachments out here and just purifying our minds of external things to dissolution of the mind stream, philosophically speaking, to go back into the source, to the kingdoms of heaven and beyond the kingdoms of heaven, to this 4th dimensional space where wisdom is queen. I was about to say wisdom is king. I quickly changed that. So where this divine non-dual wisdom is queen, where she resides and presides. And that's launches us off today, probably enough to get us started on this 3 Sundays that we're going to enter into a principle that's nicely outlined by the 2 words, Samara Sattva. So Samara is, you know what that means? It just means smara, Samara Smriti is just to remember. So Samara means with memory. So you should have this divine sattvic memory all the time is kind of what that means. And if you've lost it, then you find her. You find her within yourself and ask her, where did you go? Just like these great beings were asking her when she came and saved them. Now you need to be saved from the vagaries and vicissitudes of the external world that you're getting attached to, and it's falling apart all around you as you do, in the terms of decay, old age, and death, and rebirth. It doesn't end with death in our tradition. So now you need to get a hold of her. So that's kind of why. I mean, we could show that. I'm not starting with this chart. Starting with a different chart, but we can show it real quick because it shows you the kind of outline that I'm talking about with this couple down here looking within. And when they're looking within, they're seeing that they have lots of issues. I guess we could use a word for today, or a lot of concerns, or a lot of impediments, or worse, a lot of impurities. So basically, all those are words of obstacle. Jaya Ganesha, may he remove them, help us remove them. But those are all words for obstacles at different levels of our being. The impediments are, thrown up by all sorts of forces outside of us. And the obstacles are just the course that comes to you when you're trying to navigate life in the world. But impurities are our own doing. Basically, they're there because we let them accumulate. And that is the tradition of karma in India, which it goes to for these problems rather than to either blame devil or to blame God. The idea of sin and salvation. We go to karma and liberation in our tradition. So we know that this liberation is already ours, as told to us by our gurus, ensured to us by the mother. Just like the revelation in Christianity, I and my Father are one. I could say the same thing here. And so we know that that's already ours, but then we can't figure out why it keeps evading us. It's elusive. And it starts out delusive, and then it gets elusive. So you become deluded as to your true nature, and then all of these karmas that are hidden or were hidden before start rising. Ram Prasad sings about that. He says, I can't understand where these white beetles are coming from. He's talking about, I washed the walls and I whitewashed them and everything, but beetles are still coming out of the walls. I can't find out from where, these eggs, as it were, that are there, that he didn't get rid of. So he's really talking about the mind. He's not talking about the problems of a householder in the insect realm. So in his mind, he says these white beetles of desire and so forth and past desire are coming into my mind, and they're invading my presence, and they're just causing me disturbance and worry and brooding and so forth. It comes from that, which will just add more karma to the karma that everything is rising from already. So it's a very dire predicament for the embodied human being whose mind isn't yet made pure like the Atman. May this mind be rendered pure by the presence of the Divine Mother through her mantra that the Guru gave me. And then I can begin to have full contact with her and darshan with my own self, which eventually I'll see as the same thing. My own self was given to me by her, my true self. But I opted for this false self somehow along the way and decided to give it ground. And it, like the camel getting its head in the tent, then the shoulders, and then the whole body overnight in the desert, then and not kicking it out while you had the chance, then pretty soon this ego takes over everything, this small ego. Anatta, it's called in Buddhism, or anatman in our tradition. That's the unripe ahamkara, or ego. So, but these are all impediments and obstacles and impurities as we're fleshing them out right now. So the purpose of this class, and showed you that chart real quick about this couple who decided to take matters into their own hands. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, one of my favorite kind of siddhis is the two-legged one. That's mankind, rather than the six-legged or eight-legged or thousand-legged, like a multipede or something. But I sport through all bodies with all legs, but my two-legged one's my favorite. And of the two-legged ones, I like that one that exerts to try and know me. They spend their time exerting themselves in self-discipline called sadhana to try and know me. Those are my favorite of the two-legged variety of siddhis. Siddhi means purusha, basically. You've got this divine siddhi inside of you that has 9 gates, like the senses and all that. There's all sorts of beautiful symbologies to render this clearer to you. But the whole purpose is you need a method by which to unveil this hidden siddhi. Like Dwaraka got submerged by the ocean and now they're excavating it. That was kind of, first they proved Kurukshetra, that Krishna had a battlefield. Now they're proving that he had a city called Dwaraka at the end of his life. So all of these things are coming to light, even historically. What to speak of what precedes history. That prehistory really is what's inside you. That's the kingdoms of heaven within you. And that's your mind that gave rise to your body, to many bodies, actually. And all of that needs to come from a pure mind if you want to have a pure life and pure thinking process, chit shuddhi. So the seers are after that all the time, and they want to take that back with them, back to Mother, and come from Mother and go back to Mother. Say, I still held on to it, even though I suffered on earth. You saw my God blog last week about that, how perfection, how it gets subjected to suffering here on earth, gets subjected to matter. And so there are millions of people who suffer that ignobly, like animals do. They don't have any recourse to get out of it. But there's those souls that come back with their perfection already intact, like our Vivekananda, or like Shankara, or like Buddha. They just need a little bit of time under a tree or out in the desert, in the wilderness, or somewhere that, to give them time to remember, I mustn't forget my Divine Mother. I mustn't forget the Shakti power by which everything moves and by which everything comes, good, bad, mixed, neutral. Everything is coming from that power. So that's the Shakti. But then there's the Mahashakti who holds this power. And the seers and yogis have been seeking her inside, like fourth dimensional space. She'll come in a form that's very profound and very, sometimes horrific, like Kali, or sometimes like Krishna on the battlefield with Arjuna when he saw the Vishvarupa form. That's the Virat form again. So that's very stunning. And when that happens then, and it comes in the form of external imperfections and obstacles that we're talking about here, then these dedicated beings get together in couples. I mean, one of the divine couples, of course, is guru and disciple. They say there's no better coupling than that, because that's for one purpose only, freedom, right? It's hard to argue with, because every other coupling you see is for some other reason, or has a mixture of reasons, like husband and wife and so forth. And so if you look at all of these variety of couplings, whatever the case may be, about their various characteristics, you'll find that that's the coming together of this consciousness that is pure and never bound, ever free and never bound, and the dynamic power that proceeds from it. Those beings that want to remain intact, have their consciousness remain intact as they take on a body, they will remember the Mother. That is the Shakti power. I have power inside me by which to free myself at any given moment. And I must remember that very power, if I don't use it right, can also veil me. That's why we have the teachings that are rather across the board neutral, right? Of veiling power, and distorting power and revealing power. That's all Mother's power. So you can see how people are using those in different ways, how even she is using them in different ways. She wants to veil the overall gaze of humanity towards the inner realms. She will until the right time, where the most people will wake up in any given age to that, like the coming of a Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So those couplings then are interesting. We looked at it when I was on the mainland in our Dharma visit over this last couple of weeks, with these beings come together and they start looking at the obstacles to attaining spirituality. That's, again, that special practice which certain people come to know will help return them to their innate perfection, which has never really left them. It just got covered. So how do we strip off these veils? And what are some of these veils? So that's where I want to dive in, really, now that I've shown you the actual Samara Sattva, how to remember this sattvic condition and how to use it for destroying obstacles. We'll show some of the obstacles that are the main ones. We'll show some of the practices that help destroy them. When these two, Shiva Shakti couple, get together, it must be said that there are a lot of single people out there, like monks. Where's their Shakti? Or nuns, where's their Shiva? So they have internal versions of these. So they often say, even in the teachings for householders, that you have masculine and feminine nature inside of you, both. But one might be out of balance with the other. So the idea of balancing it comes into clarity when you start thinking of that. That's one divine coupling that you can take recourse to. Another is that you might not have found your consecrated partner yet in life. Another is you might have found them, but you didn't take advantage of them, and one of them has gone in some way, either left or passed away, whatever the case may be. There's all sorts of ways in which this Shiva Shakti practice can be utilized to bring out the highest realization. Of course, the ideal one is that two conscious souls, male and female, get together and put their minds together on the goal of existence, which is truth and freedom, basically. And when you talk about that inside of the householder realm, which it applies best to because the monks are single, and the pravrajakas, the nuns, are also single. When you talk about it inside the householder fold, then it becomes very inspiring. So this is what you like to try and give to younger people, to try and balance out these energies, Shiva and Shakti. In Tantra, you know, Shiva and Shakti are the first result of the one reality bifurcating itself in some indescribable way. It broke into two. Of course, that's when we start thinking of things are getting risky here. You know, there goes the neighborhood. The neighborhood is oneness. And all of a sudden, two-ness moves in. And so immediately what you should do is, where's my mother? You know? And she said, oh, I'm causing this. You realize that I'm causing the two-ness, you know, and stick to the divine principles of two-ness. You know, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. You know, from dreams awake, from bonds be free. Know the truth. Thou art he, and thou art she. You know, the men are Shiva, the women are Shakti. They have this inherent in their natures, and these two are meant to work together. And that's what Samara Sattva is: the working together of Shiva and Shakti to destroy impediments which should never have come to you in the first place. And they came to you in different ways. One of those was to be born on earth in a body. And it comes with six problems, right? Called birth, growth, disease, old age, decay, and death. Also comes with 5 other problems called tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, smelling. It also comes with 10 other problems called the 10 types of objects that the senses get attached to, and so on and so on. So basically, when all of this gets encountered, like inside of yoga with the 5 kleshas, or inside of Buddhism with the 6 kileshas, Basically, you know that you're in a risky predicament here, and you should pool your energy, just like somebody would pool their resources when they saw hard times coming. And that way, you see hard times coming and maybe already upon you if you're born in this world. So you get together with your divine consecrated partner and you say, how do we shore up ourselves? How do we uh, find, search for, and find these impediments in us and destroy them with our combined power of Shiva and Shakti, which is within us? So again, it's inspiring. It's very exciting to bring out a beautiful teaching like this, Samara Sattva, which is listed right there in the Vedanta teachings. You can find it. So what I've put together here is in accord with this age, is some of the things that we will come across that are both realization of what's binding us and what are the solutions for those. Let's look at those in this other chart that I really want to start out with, called the real bliss of Brahman. That is, as opposed to the false happiness of the world. The real bliss of Brahman is something that we should take a deep look at. Um, and you'll see on this chart, of course, the mother's eye herself as she looks out upon the worlds. And you also see some of the beautiful Sanskrit terms here that you won't find in any other language. If you want to know the finest philosophy the world ever knew, do you know what I'm talking about? Vedanta. That's how Vivekananda called it. And he studied all the Indian darshanas and saw the religions. Sri Ramakrishna saw all the religions of the world. So if you want to know the finest religion ever known to humanity, then you must familiarize yourself with Sanskrit. Those words, they're powerful awakeners. They're keys to awakening. And so you should take them up and study them, svadhyaya. You should take them deep into your thinking process, manana. Right now, generally speaking, we're in a phase of shravana only. We're only hearing the truth come from other traditions. In America, I say, like in Europe, the West. We need to take it to the next level, which should be manana. Shravana first, hear it from an authentic source. Your guru, for instance, a jnani would be best, or an acharya, not a million follower guru necessarily that is selling you things, but from these beings who want you to get free, not get comfortable in the world. It's a simple way of putting it. They want you to get free of the world, not get comfortable in it. Because birds have nests and fox have holes, and Son of Man has no place to lay his head here. It couldn't have been said better than by Jesus. Said also by many Indian seers. So we take that advice seriously, and we begin to look into then these methods by which India offers. And they come with some fully loaded Sanskrit words. It's like, you're an empty pistol, and those are the bullets. So you've got to find them, and you got to put it in there, and then you got to pull the trigger, and then you'll get the desired effect. So let's look at a few of them. Let's take the chant first at the top, or the sloka. The only way to know Brahman is to intensely scrutinize Brahman with a clear mind and a loving heart. That's Aji Premananda Manrigaha Rama Krishnanam. Aji Premananda Manrigaha Rama Krishnanam. Gaha Rama Krishnanam. Japa Rama Krishnanam. Beautiful songs about that. With a loving heart and open mind, sing the names of the Lord, right? So anyway, I can't even read a sentence without thinking both philosophically and musically about it. And that's what's said here, basically. To really come to know Brahman, you must intensely scrutinize it with these two facets of your being intact. Not a confused mind, not a deluded mind, not a doubting mind, not a fearful mind. No, none of those. With a pure and open mind. Well, you might put that first, open and then pure. Open it up first, see the impurities that are there and purify it, like with your partner, with your inner partner. Another divine coupling is you and your guru, but another divine coupling is you and Ishvara, right? You're the woman, he's the man, or if she's the woman, you're the man. Depends on Ishvara or Ishvari. So you can do this practice, Samara Sattva, and just think of it as taking the best of two-ness and rendering it into oneness, which is your pure nature. So with a clear mind, with an open heart too, a loving heart. Then the father of yoga has stated, Samadhi Siddhir Ishvara Pranidhana. Do you recognize two of those words, Ishvara Pranidhana? What is that?
Yeah.
That's the niyama of yoga, of Ashtanga yoga. One of the five, Ishvara Pranidhana, right? Note that down. Worship of the Lord. So Siddhir means perfection. And you know what samadhi means generally. Everyone does who comes to my classes. Or nirvana, as the Buddhists call it. So samadhi siddhir, perfection is reached. The perfection of non-duality, samadhi, is reached by worshiping Ishvara. See? So there's no two-ness here. There's no upasanas over there and vipassanas over there. No. Upasana and vipassana are complements the mother gave us. They complement each other, which is the name of the new chart I'm working on right now, which I'll show you next Sunday. Vipassana and upasana. You don't tear them apart and put them into two different, apparently different religions. You realize them as complements. God with form, God beyond form, as Ramakrishna used to put it. So the father of yoga has stated this. The doorway to non-duality is gained by worshiping Ishvara. Worshipping is upasana. Doorway to non-duality is vipassana. That entrance into non-dual Brahman is gained through the worship of Ishvara. Therefore, rare souls in earnest pursuit of a defining and concluding vision of the highest principle will place their full awareness upon it while undergoing all practices and methods pertaining to its realization. So I showed you this already. These two are going to put their full attention on it by undergoing all these practices that are available to them. And they're all under the umbrella of the finest philosophy the world has ever come to know, Vedanta. Under the umbrella of Vedanta is also Raja Yoga, is also Tantric practices, is also Samkhya philosophy, is also Buddhism, for instance. So that's what we're talking about here. If you want a word for the whole thing, look at the bottom right-hand corner. Brahmanusandana, considering, thinking about, searching after, inquiring into, reasoning about, investigating, and exploring Brahman. I exhausted myself 1 minute trying to think about how to define in English Brahmanusandana. Let's take them all one at a time. Considering Brahman. Okay. I've never thought about God even by accident. When I was born in Western families when I was young, right? Not even by accident did God come up. Didn't cross my parents' lips. It wasn't taught in school. In fact, it was almost kicked out of the vocabulary in school by government. So consider it, because maybe it's time you did. Stop listening to a shipload of fools and listen to the seers about truth. I heard somebody say yesterday, like an atheist intellectual Indian man, says, "Oh, religion is just, is unnecessary, and spirituality is its debris." And I was like shocked. An Indian man would say that. So anyway, this is what we need to do to bring back a practice this powerful. Brahman Nusandana. See, Brahma, consider Brahman first, then think about it. That's what I was just saying, right? Manana. We haven't gotten to that level yet where our mind rests on Brahman. So we're going to have to force it to rest on Brahman. Why? Because everyone else has forced it to rest upon the world, on work, on a paycheck, on children and their schooling, and on wealth, and on enjoyments, and on objects. And the list goes on in Maya, that four-letter word we talk about. But who is telling you to rest your mind on Brahman? Only the seers. Take some time off, even if you're a household. Go away, go on retreat, or do your meditation twice a day. Let your mind rest upon Brahman to the exclusion of everything else for that hour. Um, and let it just be you and the Lord in one period of time, one bardo. Let me have a bardo where I'm just one with the Lord, or at least I'm trying to be one with the Lord. So this is thinking about it, then searching after it, searching after Brahman. That would be, I'm going to need a method and a guru. That's the search. They go to seek God, and religion has been telling them that it's out there. The higher religion tells them, truer religion tells them, no, turn and go within yourself. The original is back within you. Brahman is within you. Atman is within you. Ishvara is within you. Heaven even is within you. There's nothing outside that can compare with those four things that are within you. Then inquire into it. That's where you get into the philosophical level and you start asking questions. Because when you stir up the mud of your mind, lots of doubts from karma in the past start rising. And, then that inquiry happens. It's like they're sometimes called a pseudo-spiritual upchuck. I heard one enlightened soul call it, just, oh, look at all that stuff come up, But it's actually a good thing if it's pointed towards Brahman. What's that called? By Ramana Maharshi. Inquiry into it. Atmavichara, very good. It's in there, it's in the mind. Rest your mind on it. Think about it. Have it come up. Reason about it then, and investigate it and explore it. So that's Brahma Nusandana, a beautiful word that is there in Sanskrit, which I want to bring back here, because this is one of the things that the Samara Sattva couple wants to do it. They want to do those series of things, in order. And I'm sorry if I'm causing our camera person to have to go back and forth between charts, but basically all of this is connected, and this is the only way we can show that it is. So that's what I chose for the head quote of this chart, Brahma Nusandana, and its definition down here. You can see the monk walking along the path, and on either side of him are the definitions to all these. And we can finish this chart by just taking them up real quick, because we'll encounter them later as methods and practices that will bring us light. Will bring light into our lazy, sleepy, resistant, suffering minds. So basically you see here that the very first entrance up there is Svatantra Sattva Bhava. Svatantra means basically I'm already free. It's like, it's almost Advaitic in it, but it is a more tantric kind of expression. Svatantra means this, I perceive my inner perfection. I feel it so deeply. Let's look at the definition of it down here then. Svatantra. There it is. Knowing of the possibility of complete freedom. Well, you can see that might have come about here, right? Because if I did all of these 6 or 7 or 8 things here, when I took up Brahman as my experiment, as my topic in school, I thought, okay, school's over. Now I want to go to a deeper school. Like Einstein saying, you've got your degree in education now get a real education. That means to go in to the source of all wisdom, basically. Every great seer has a muse. Every great artist has a muse. So every great seer would have a muse. And those who are after wisdom, they see it as the feet of the Divine Mother. That's the porthole. That fourth dimensional space is where they head for, penultimate to getting into samadhi. Samadhi siddhir, right? Ishvara pranidhana. You get to the Father through the Son. Ishvara is the Son. The Father is Brahman. And that's a natural progression, spiritual speaking, when you seek inside. So the possibility of knowing of complete freedom, wouldn't that be a wake-up call for you if you were tied to the world through a materialistic society and your parents didn't know anything about Dharma and didn't know anything about moksha, and possibly didn't know anything more than conventional religion with its morals and ethics, which hasn't been freeing souls for lifetimes. All of a sudden you found out of the possibility of freedom. Maybe it exists, right? It's like an atheist all of a sudden having an aha moment right inside. Gosh, I've doubted it all this time, but I just had an experience that I cannot explain away. And all of a sudden, they're not an atheist anymore. They're on the road towards belief, and belief leads to faith, and then faith leads to realization. And that's a path tread by thousands of liberated souls who got freedom. Freedom from what? From rounds of birth and death and ignorance with suffering, basically. That's how Buddha described samsara. And ancestors are many of the people on that wheel, your ancestors, and your children if you're not careful, because then you become their ancestors and their grandchildren. So wake them up, O wisdom mothers, strip from them this Maya cover as soon as you can. Get them into thinking about Brahman and how it is the doorway to absolute freedom from all suffering, from all bondage, from all fear, from all doubt. But those are just the things that are our own impurities, right? What it really is just returning to your true nature. It's like coming home after a long trip. Everyone comes home and they feel so relieved, right? Because home is where the heart is and all that. Inside home is where the Atman is. So everyone feels that when they come back. Like we feel when we leave this island, like we did a couple of weeks ago, and then came back to it. Hawaii, Hawaii ne, you know, the big island no ka'oi. You know, that's the best place to be for me. But that's secondary. It's a metaphor for the best place to be is in your Atman, in yourself all the time. So people will have to come to know that there's a possibility that such a thing exists. Because Christ went into it, because Buddha went into it, because Krishna went into it and told it to Arjuna in the battlefield, and so forth. At least conventional religion should be good at giving people that possibility, a thought of a possibility of freedom, absolute freedom, unconditional freedom. So something about Svatantra Sattva Bhava. How about Tatastha Lakshana? I made a whole chart on it for you, which I hope to get to today, but I want to go through this one first, just for you can see how powerful the thinking process of the ancient rishis of India were, and what kind of words they had to come up with in their language to explain the inexplicable. The world had not seen it before, had not had that ultimate freedom, even as an ideal or an idea. It was either heaven or paradise or hell or any other, the worlds, but not a heavenless, hellless, worldless reality where form disappeared and you stood face to face with your own self. It's like light finding light, right? The light had a little veil over it, referring to light. Now I'm one with the light. It's like Om Dako Shudam Siktam Sigava Tad Virgeva Tad Bhavati Eva Muner Vijanata Atma Bhavati Gautama. Upanishads say. What's that mean? Talk about some Sanskrit put together. Like water, pure water, poured into pure water, what happens? It becomes the same. So too are the selves of the realized souls who unite themselves with Brahman. They're free, it's free. They find svatantriya, this great freedom. And as they did then, they came up with some conclusions. And tataksha lakshana means coming up with the wrong conclusions, coming up with secondary considerations. So that's something I made a whole chart for. We'll look at it. You can see it down here, tataksha lakshana, as it's avoiding false conclusions about Brahman. I put it up near the top because it makes me want to go about it sort of in evolution. First, we want to make Brahman the focus of our concentration. Second, we want to know that there's a possibility that we're free, that maybe we've always been free, and that bondage is a false superimposition on us. You know how Sri Ramakrishna talked about an explorer coming in to the dark cave with a torch. That dark cave had been undiscovered for hundreds of years, and that darkness was sitting in there. All those hundreds of years. You thought it maybe would stick there, but no, when the explorer came in with the torch, gone in an instant. See, that's how the revelation of understanding your true nature as one with Brahman happens to a soul who, prior to that, falsely believed that they were in the darkness of ignorance forever. And that's what prehistory will tell you about, back to the Ice Age and so forth. They're trying to convince you that your ancestors were monkeys, but your ancestors were inside of you. And they were highest gods. You came from the highest regions. You're a noble human being. There's nothing better than that in the whole seven worlds. Why? Because it can realize itself in this lifetime if it wants. And animals can't do that. The gods are too busy with their various activities of controlling. But you can do that. You can waken up, like Buddha said, in this very lifetime. And Vivekananda followed up with a conclusion, similar conclusion. So we'll look at giving up false conclusions soon, because there are a lot of them that we could remove, from our minds if we got together and supported each other. Not only externally in consecrated couples, but internally with our own Shiva Shakti nature, and also further internally with us and our Guru and further and further inside with you and Ishvara. Then there's what's their Sandilya Vidya is next. Sandilya Vidya is described here as taking Brahman as the ideal, self-effulgent, indwelling spirit. Well, that's a bit beyond just considering that maybe it exists. All of a sudden, you say, that is what I've been seeking all this time, and I feel strangely aligned with it. When I think about it, I think I am it. Well, I shouldn't say that because that's a blaspheme, right? But I nevertheless have that intuition of non-duality come upon me when I think that way. And the seers, besides, they told me, Sandilya Vidya. There's this knowledge which makes you realize that Brahman is the only reality. It's the self-effulgent, indwelling spirit within everything. Next is Sarvadarsanacharya. And you can see that means aspiring to know all paths leading to Brahman. So when I was sharing Vedanta with people over the last 50 years, in the early decades of sharing Vedanta with Americans and Europeans and some Hindus that had come, then I was disposed to say, basically, here's the Vedanta and here's the teachings. Then slowly they found out I was teaching some yoga, eight-limbed, not the hatha, God forbid. That's just do that a little bit, set your posture and go forward. But basically I was teaching them some various high limbs of yoga as if they were the same as Vedanta. And they are, basically. And then pretty soon they found out Tantra was in the teaching. And so this is what I mean. This divine coupling that you're doing, you've got a lot of wisdom to discover and find in your partner, right? But you're remaining close to them. You're not getting in agreement about coming together as as possessors of the supreme wisdom and also as possessors of the Shakti power that can bring it out of you. That you can put that together and bring this up for the highest benefit of yourself and your life and everyone else too. Mukti and sarva mukti. So you can see that sarva is all, darshana is all these various things I just mentioned. There are 6 darshanas in India, but there are many other sub-darshanas. And, uh, and then to know them all, achara, if you have qualified to know all the darshanas, because even if I'm not uh, uh, masterful of every one of them, if I take one for what I want to do, the others will help me realize that one. And I'll come forth with lots of very important, crucial information from those other darshanas. This is why we shouldn't be narrow in our religious beliefs. We should see that all religious paths came from God and lead back to God. Just like rivers come from the ocean and lead back to the ocean. So from the sky to the ocean, you might say, to the mountains, the waterfalls, to the snow, melt, back to the ocean again. Everything is this one indivisible mass of pure conscious awareness. And everyone who's realized that came forth with a method and a way, a darshana, with which they could explain their path to you. Here, take this on for existence. Oh, I've heard, my dear, that there's something called yogic practice. Let's enter into it. So we're having problems with our mind, then how about let's concentrate our mind and get rid of the problem of pratyahara and realize oneness of mind and become dharana, concentrated. And then let's put our mind on these problems and see what happens to them. We'll probably see that they weren't ever there in the first place as real entities and that we can disperse them, disintegrate them with the power that we bring together. You see. Again, bring it together with your consecrated partner, bring it together with your guru, bring it together with Ishvara that you're doing the mantra on. And if you can, bring it together with your practice of realizing Brahman. Right? Sarva Darshanacharya, see how beautiful it is. All darshanas, sarva, all darshanas, I should come to know about them. It's like coming to know about the possibility for freedom, right? And then how do they know that? Oh, there's all these pathways in which they came to that conclusion. You can see how it connects so beautifully. All of them connect so beautifully. How about Brahmanusandana? Well, I could stop talking here and have everyone in the room tell me what that is because I just gave 20 minutes discourse on it. And you should all now have it in your memories. And you should walk away from this class thinking about that. How to make Brahman the sole focus of my concentration, see. And that way expand the mind, open the mind, and then with a loving heart, make your connection to the Lord. That's been impeded for so long. Brahmabhyasa is the next one. The definition here, Brahmabhyasa is this having a way to describe what Brahman is to others. It might be indescribable, but nonetheless, you can find words for it. Isn't it obvious that the seers went a long way to find words for divine reality? So it says here, meditation, reflection, conversing, and discussing on and about Brahman. So if I put these two together, all these things you want to do to make Brahman the focus, the subject, the main subject, and then all the practices you're going to do once you have. Now I can meditate on Brahman. Now I can reflect on Brahman. Now I can converse with others about Brahman, discuss on and about Brahman. That's what they did. They got together and did this once they had their T's crossed and their I's dotted, right? They had all their ducks in a row. And now I feel qualified, Acharya. I feel qualified to go amongst other people and discuss about Svatantra Sarva Darshanacharya. Now I know how to go and conduct myself amongst the knowers of Brahman. So that's where I'm going to gather even more depth, like walking the skies with illumined beings, Lord Vasishtha said. On either side, and this will kind of wrap up the chart for a first look anyway, you see pragyana gana. That's like, you must, once you are able to reflect on Brahman, how are you going to find it? Well, I found it as a mass of pure conscious awareness, an indeterminable mass of pure conscious awareness. That means without boundaries, without limits, but also, so I don't make any wrong conclusions about it, without any worlds, without any forms, without any emotions, without any actions, without any karmas, without any beings, without any bodies, without. Sounds like neti neti, doesn't it? Only neti neti is living, and it's not taking away everything and leaving a void. It's taking away everything that's not Brahman and showing the real Brahman to you, so that you can think about it, so you can do a practice on it, and then you can discuss it with others. And finally, then you can realize, well, we've exhausted all the terminology we possibly could use about it to help ourselves and to others. Now I'm just going to call it a pure, undivided ocean of conscious awareness. In my own language, we'll say that. And on the other side, I have a chart next week for you about Upasana. That really is Shankara's path. Vipassana is really Lord Buddha's path. So if you put together this Advaita Vedanta of Shankara and Gaudapada, Upasana, they want you to meditate on the divine person. And that includes divine forms then. Upasana means asana, upa. If you put those two words together, what would that tell you? Asana is a position you take, right? And then upa means a teacher or your primordial teacher. So upasana means sitting near to God. Isn't all this about that? When I took Brahman as my subject and I had the inkling I wanted to be free, or maybe I was free and there was something in the way, whatever the case may be, and I took Brahman as my subject, isn't that going to be what I want to do? I want to get as close to that divine reality as I possibly can and just sit there. How many days did Buddha do that? And he wasn't looking outside. He didn't find it in the old scriptures, in the Upanishads, or in Kapila Samkhya. He didn't find what he was looking for. He wanted the formless reality, and he wanted to get close to it, and he wanted to sit there in it. And that's what you'll want to do when you see the light of consciousness. The raindrop sees the ocean. There's my nature. I want to merge into it. So that's meditation, dhyan, sitting close to the Lord. Find the Lord, whatever the Lord is to you, means to you, shows up to you as, and get as close to you and sit there in it, like Buddha did under the bo tree until his nirvana dawned upon him. There's a few other I didn't put up in the upper skies. There's one here called Shuddha Vichara, pure inquiry into the nature of Brahman. And then there's the Mahavakya Nusandana, that is coming into full knowledge of what the Mahavakyas mean. First, you have to know what they are. You have them memorized, right? All four of them. What's one? one great saying. Tatvamasi, it's so easy. Let's see, that thou art. Then another is aham brahmasmi. Aham means I am. I am Brahman. Oh, there's that blasphemy again. See, how do we mean that? We mean that is that the ocean doesn't belong to the waves. The wave belongs to the ocean, as Ramakrishna said. So the wave is water. That's its essence. Its form isn't Brahman. It came out of the ocean. It disappears back into the ocean. But its essence is water, so it is one with Brahman. That's how we mean aham brahmasmi. In a very simple way. You can look into the Brahma Sutras and find pages and pages of commentary on those few words, and so forth. So Mahavakya Nusandana is something you want to use to help you spend time with Brahman. Oh, what do they say about Brahman? First of all, they say you're that. Really? Me? I'm that? Tatvamasi? Aham brahmasmi? Wow, that's beautiful. That just awakened something in me. Maybe I've always been free. I mean, you see how it just all connects, but you have to put your mind on it to do the connections and then sit back and drink in the nectar that comes from those connections. Namasmarana, remembering Brahman's name. Well, how about Satchidananda? There's a beautiful name for Brahman. So India is not all that hands-off, naming Brahman. It does declare, like every other good religion, that Brahman doesn't have, you can't dawn a name upon Brahman. I mean, you try that, you end up with maybe 99 names. Or you try it in another religion, maybe you end up with 1,008. So it's just like, it's Brahman really means just to continually expand, to continually grow inside of itself. Well, we know philosophically speaking that it doesn't need to grow because it's already everywhere. So it appears to grow and extend itself in everywhere. So people in Maya are going to look at that when they wake up out of Maya and they would go, oh, Brahman, I know that you don't move or you don't expand, but please show me that you can do that right now. Expand so much, my mind so much that I'll know you and that this Maya will go away. And the net of Maya will be broken and I'll be free. See, I don't care about philosophy, whether actually it's true that you expand or not. I just want you to do that, to expand myself beyond Maya, expand my mind beyond its own limitations. That's what they're sitting together to do, which I want to get to a little bit today. So there's one more, Nija Bodha Rupa, knowing Brahman as Satchitananda, or self-awareness. The last quote from the Taittiriya Upanishad is beautiful. That from which all speech recoils, along with the mind, both being unable to describe or fathom it, the one who knows the bliss of that Brahman sheds doubt and fear for all time. And so it is. Vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha ananda brahmana vidvan na bibeti kutaschaneti. So that's the Sanskrit for that beautiful sloka. That from which all speech recoils, along with the mind. Speech can't say it, can't really describe, as we just said. And the mind also finds out it can't fathom it. The one who realized that Brahman from which speech cannot describe and the mind cannot fathom, to them belong bliss. All fear and doubt dies, and then they get bliss. Beautifully put by the Taittiriya Upanishad. Then, in our limited time, let's go on to look at this, because I want to go back to this chart with Tataksha Lakshana and with Upasana Dhyan, along with Vipassana Dhyan, next week. So I'm going to save that for that next second exciting class that you're all going to be hanging on these truthful teachings of India. But we should really set up the Samara Sattva a little bit stronger foundation for today, because it's really kind of the main subject. This is the real bliss of Brahman we just looked at, and they want this I mean, take it in Kundalini style. They say, when the soul is asleep to its own nature, then she rests in the base of the spine, right? They say, coiled up there like a snake. And certain inklings come that freedom is trying to suggest itself to the soul, and it finds a teacher, it gets a mantra, whatever that happens to that soul that's seeking it, from its good karmas from past lifetimes, we're to say. In that case, then she'll uncoil. So have you uncoiled your spring yet? The Kundalini teachers will tell you. See, we want to see any sign of you awakening yet, or are you still just this drab, poor, lifeless hunk of flesh attached to enjoyments and pleasures? Are anything awakening in you that we can see, that we can get a hold of and try and bring you up and out of the ignorance that's going to cause you to suffer? We don't want that. They're doing it all out of compassion for you. There's no pay. If you're getting paid for it, then look at all the pseudo gurus with their huge bank accounts. But then look at Ramana Maharshi with nothing, and Sri Ramakrishna with nothing, and Vivekananda with nothing, and how they went after the truth to try and transmit it to you without any care for themselves. Vivekananda once said, I don't know, I made 1,000 mistakes, but I know one thing. I did everything I ever did, I did for others. I didn't do one thing for myself. So it means that the self is perfect, and he knows it. If it comes and subjects itself to the world, imperfections will seemingly happen. If you go into the furnace room with white clothes on, you get a little soot on there, no matter how careful you are, Sri Ramakrishna said. So basically that's for the understanding of this. But then what I'm saying here is that this divine couple is really hard on the trail of freedom. Mundane rounds of life have gotten to this divine couple, and they find that they're not making spiritual progress. This happens to great seers who complain to their gurus, I did all the practices and I still am not getting what I want. It's just a common complaint in this world amongst people who are seeking the highest freedom, that they haven't been able to find it, that one most satisfying, fulfilling experience that we're able to put words on, like nirvana or samadhi. And we're coming up with penultimate words like sadhana, which helps us qualify for gaining that. Once we use that sadhana, like they want to do, to destroy these problems. So that's the outlay of this chart, basically. And you see here the subtitle. Well, the title is Elimination, Illumination, and Enlightenment. So they realize that enlightenment is just out of their grasp, even though they did find a guru, they did get a mantra, they did start to meditate every day once or twice, they did read the Gita and the scriptures, and they're continuing to do all that as a part of their 4-yoga practice. But still, that enlightenment is just so elusive, as long as the grantor of enlightenment herself, the Divine Mother Durga, here we are in Saptami, the 7th day of Durga, that they're going to need something of a little bit more intense and personalized type or kind. Because some of these samskaras in the mind are that subtle. Maybe we could look at some of them, but let's read the subtitle first. Chitta Vritti Nirodha, dissolving the mind's dark impressions. It's like, holding something up, I can see you, and I can't see you, and you can't see me. That's the covering power of Maya. And it's happening in so many forms all the time. Like nature is a covering power. We can't see God because of nature. So people go beyond nature. How do they do that? They shut their eyes in meditation. They concentrate on just the Lord, and the world goes away. There's so many ways in which adept beings can take their mind off of nature. And then they'll come back to it. Nature's still dancing there. They can utilize it for their food. They can utilize it for various things to help their spiritual life. But basically, it just goes to prove that this is one of those things that is necessary, and one of the things that causes the covering power to come dancing back all the time. Form by nature veils formlessness is probably the most succinct way that you can put that. Form by its very nature veils formlessness. So everyone starts believing in form. Nobody believes in the formless. So you take form and you divinize it. What's that called? Upasana. And then when you get beyond upasana, you get vipassana. What's that called? Vision of the formless intelligence, formless awareness that Buddha named himself after. So you see how you take both of these and you divinize them and utilize them. If you don't, if you leave them, the field of your mind fallow, unfertile, unsowed of seed and unplowed, then those very things become a part of the veiling power for you. And you forget yourself, your true self. So these mind's dark impressions, the worst part about them is not that you developed them in an earlier lifetime. It's that you haven't recognized them in this one. So when you put your recognition upon them, you recognize them, svatantra, prachabhigya it's called, then all of a sudden, oh, there it is. It's springing up before my mind's eye because I've got together with another divine soul, and our combined power helps me penetrate through the covering power of Maya, even if for only a few minutes in meditation, even if while considering a few powerful slokas in a revealed scripture, even if pedaling a bicycle to the ocean across the land, all of a sudden, by this breathing exercise that was going on, when I huffed and puffed, my in and out breath, everything stopped and suspended. And even there in action, I saw the one stable Brahman behind the moving panorama of my bicycle ride. Whatever it is, it'll happen to a soul if they put their minds upon that and concentrate upon it. Then those dark impressions will come up. See, I mean, we told the story, I think before I left, also at the retreat recently, that when the Great Mother appears, I'll truncate it. Great Mother appears to the seer says, free me. She says, so be it, disappears. And he might have thought that if she appears, that's a freedom, right? Well, you can't follow her if you can trace her. She's hard to trace. But the real freedom came when she disappeared and showed up your ignorance, because she reveals everything that was in your mind that you couldn't reveal to yourself because you didn't have that capacity yet. So a vision reveals to you the hidden problems that are in you. That's the real spirituality. And that's why Holy Mother said, visions and blissings are just the byproduct of spirituality, of practice. What's the real quality of spiritual practice is building your character. So that's what happens when you have her vision and she goes away, then you see the world is not real. Before she came, you were trying to see the world as unreal and failing. And so you take on a divine Shakti. You get that dynamic power working for you. And you worship the divine Shiva, whose wisdom is profound, unlimited, and eternal, without a shelf life, just like eternal. It goes on and on. And you put that kind of thing together, the Brahman with Shakti, or Shiva with Shakti, if you want to put it tantrically. And then you have this realization that everything I'm seeing now is temporary, is transitory, is changing, is mutable, is transitory, is unfulfilling. Shall I go on? I can think of a lot of words, some of them not so nice for this world. Maya would be the best four-letter word for it, as we say. So this quote then, let's start it off, and the rest of our time here we'll get into this chart. And next week, if we flesh it out, our study, because that's one of the things we want to do, right? We want to investigate, explore, inquire, reason. So I put this, up here so that, we would have this profound practice of doing that. We'd have something as an example of what we need to do daily. So here, Patanjali, we select from the father of yoga. The seers of India have confirmed that constant spiritual effort combined with dispassion is capable of destroying the negative thought vibrations of the mind. When these two get conjoined, the result is called authentic sadhana. But this practice must be maintained for a very long time and within a holy atmosphere of faith and devotion. So this happens near the end of the fourth pada of the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, who is the father of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, Raja yoga, and might as well be Atmagyan yoga. It's the yoga of highest practice. So he's putting that together for us very nicely. If we have vibrations of the mind, which you're going to see here, that are negative or have negative propensities for causing you to fall from your perch of perfection, which is your true nature, then that's going to be very helpful, you see, to know that the seers tell you if you get together with these two aspects, abhyasa vairagyam, tan nirodha, right? So abhyasa practice and vairagyam, discernment, is capable of destroying negative thought waves. Nirodha is to destroy, you see. So he's giving you the conclusion of the seers of India. Well, when we wanted to get rid of our negative samskaras, this is what we did. We got this great practice from our teachers and we kept it up, but we combined it with discriminating between the real and the unreal. And we did that. We found out that wasn't happening. We turned into mere spiritual intellectuals. So we added devotion with that. See, we added these loving practices that we're talking about over here. It wasn't just vipassana, it was also upasana. And it wasn't just formless Shiva, it was formed Shakti, informed Shakti, if you want to make a pun out of that. So basically, that's how it all happens. Tan nirodha, you see. So Tatra stitau yatno bhyasaha, he continues. It's all in Sanskrit. It's a beautiful sloka in the Yoga Sutras. But you have to look into the real yoga. You can't stay stuck down there in the lower, the non-classic yogas, you see. Physical yogas only. The four yogas are the four great yogas. Jnanam, wisdom, bhakti, devotion, dhanam or rajam, meditation, from which this comes, and karma yoga, how to serve God through worshiping, serving human beings. Those are the four great yogas. You have to look into them deeply to get these nuggets of higher wisdom that put you on the path. So in the remaining minutes, then we can at least make a start on where we'll start out next week when we gather again here, which will be after Durga Puja has passed. But we still have Lakshmi Puja coming after that, and we still have Kali Puja coming after that, and we still have Jagadatri Puja coming after that, and other holy days for our tradition, Sister Nivedita, Vivekananda's great female disciple. So basically, we have all of these mother holy days that continue on after Navaratri, as if Navaratri just wanted to announce, we're here, the 9 Durgas are here, and it's time. It's really time. It's time. But this time for the inner arena to open up and to show us the Devi battling with all the negative forces and becoming victorious over them. And that's all happening inside of us. So this is the problem, and here's the method she's using. So like her swords, her weapons that she's using. So let's look at the fivefold problem of the world. Basically, you see attachment to nature with no awareness of the soul. I use the soul there. Both soul and self are not very good words for the Atman. And Atman, sometimes then others will argue about it. No, you mean the anatman? No, that's the ego. Atman means pure conscious awareness that's one with Brahman. It's what witnesses everything. From that standpoint, it witnesses everything that changes. Itself remains unchanging. That's the underlying substratum of everything. That's the foundation. That's the primordial presence. You give it different words. You can't deny it when so many great beings have given it great words. So basically, what makes it go away in our third eye look at things that she has is attachment to nature. Observing nature, that's not going to necessarily make it go away. I just said, abhyasam vairagyam tandarudaha, right? So just because I look out at nature, does that mean I look out at nature without my detachment? I look out at nature without my constant practice? No, I didn't say that. I said, keep those first, then look out on nature, and now you're the witness of everything. Sakshi bhutam. And then don't react to things that happen in it, because they're happening over and over again, and you're continuing to react, and this continues through lifetimes. You are born a reactive person. You were born an emotional person. You're born an insensate person, a non-intelligent person. And all the time, the beings around you are going to their highest freedom because they've taken a teacher and a mantra and worked themselves into a position where they can get free. Svatantra. And if there are risks in coming into embodiment, there are also treasures coming into embodiment. Go for the treasures. She wants you to do that. So here's these are huge samskaras. If I were to take each one of this out and put it into a different chart, 5 different charts, then I could show you everything that's inside this one major samskara in the human mind. I'm talking about this age mostly, because in previous ages, some of these weren't such big problems. Second one below it, caught in cycles of rebirth with one's family / ancestors. And sorry, if you want to argue that one, go to Lord Buddha. He's a higher example, and that's what he was focusing on 550 years before Jesus showed up here, having problems with his country and his ancestors. Basically, Lord Buddha had stepped back from everything, and people said, oh, he's not following the Upanishads. No, he's just not following ancestors who have corrupted the Upanishads. So basically, go to Lord Buddha and he'll say, get off the Kala chakra. This is happening because your connection to your ancestors hasn't been purified. I used to tell people that point blank in the early days of FRE. Well, why am I suffering this way? Well, it's because you're still not relating correctly to your ancestors. You're under their control, or you're not worshiping them. You're not living up to your purpose in a human body to try and free your family instead of bind them into Maya. There's so many reasons why your relation with your ancestors are bringing you back in this loop that Buddha called samsara and then later called the Kala chakra, the wheel of time. Get off of time. Time is an illusion in the mind. Transcend time. That's called the one indivisible, timeless, deathless, birthless moment in which self-realization dawns upon the soul. So that's a big samskara for people, the problem with their ancestors. Here in the West, in America, at this particular time, is that we're not remembering and worshiping our ancestors. Why? We think they died. What a joke. They went back to their source inside of you. That's why you still remember them. Samara Sattva, you still Samara, you still remember them, right? Samara Sattva. I still remember them. I should remember them then in a sattvic way, shouldn't I? Is that they're still living. They just went to another realm, or they went hopefully and merged into their source. And if they didn't, I better look after them and make sure that they do. And then you're doing ancestor worship. What's that called? Pitri Yaga. It's one of the 5 great sacrifices that you do for living beings. It's immaterial whether they're in the body or not. They're still a soul. So help them. Help that soul. Realize its soulness. Unresolved karmas from past lifetimes. Probably already looked at that enough that we can just state it as one of the great samskaras of the human mind. And number 4, obsessed with animalistic existence via sensual pleasures and objects. Okay, that's sensual life, materialistic life, hedonistic life that descends into selfishness and karma. And those two are very much connected. The unresolved karmas that people have that attaches them to their ancestors, who are also attached to nature, if you go around backwards, really end up were caused by being animals instead of humans. Right now, people are so attached to animals and in all the wrong ways. So you're not an animal. You don't have an animal spirit in you. You have a divine spirit in you. That's what you need to concentrate on. Then the animals will be benefited. And you won't be an animal anymore. You won't believe that you were once a monkey in the past. All that stuff will be absurd. You're always the soul, and so are they. Everything is perfect in its own nature, Gaudapada says. But it falls from that because its consciousness of that fact falls. So these samskaras are considerably powerful to influence people's mind, whole races, in whole phases of time. So the 5th one then is strong desire for wealth, lands, fame, and power. I went pretty much backwards in that, but if you want to take it in terms of origins, that attachment to Prakriti, when you're really the Purusha, is what's causing this. And these two have found out that they're really the Purusha. They've been told that by an illumined soul. And now they want to know why they're not realizing it. See? That they aren't already in the highest state of awareness and called nirvana. Aham nirvikalpo nirakara rupo vibhutvacha sarvatra sarvendriyanam Nacha sangatam naiva muktir nameyash chidananda rupaham shivoham shivoham chidananda Shivoham, Shivoham. I have no form or fancy. The all-pervading Brahman am I. Everywhere I exist, yet I am beyond the senses. Neither salvation am I, nor anything that can become known. I am pure consciousness and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. Oh. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.